In this session right now, we're going to talk strictly about cooling air for engines. All of these engines are air-cooled engines. That means to maintain the temperature where it needs to be, you need to have a wind current or air current flowing across that engine and keeping it cool. If for some reason there is a heat buildup around that engine, it gets extremely hot, it will actually seize up the engine, burn the oil, and lock up on you. Good luck trying to get a warranty on something like that, because the manufacturer of the engine claims that's a lack of service or inappropriate use of the engine when they're not being kept clean. So we've done our best to help you out in this effort, okay? And let's talk about a few of the things we've done. We've put an air intake cooling filter right by our recoil starter right here, and all that air that gets pulled through this filter gets caught here. If there's a hole in this filter, or you don't have this in place, all bets are off. That dusty, dirty air gets pulled across that engine. So as needed, I would clean this filter off. If you're in the middle of a long job, there's really a lot of buildup on here, shut your engine off and clean this off and resume work with your project. Okay, as the air goes through here, it goes across some cooling fins that have a lot of surface area to help cool the head of this engine and the block of the engine. Now, if you notice on this particular design, we've extended the muffler up here above the engine area to keep that buildup of heat away from the engine area. So this allows for a through flow of air to go across the engine block, come back out and exhaust, and again, we got to keep that air clean and from being built up on the engine. We're going to stop now, and I'm going to show you in the next frame here what an engine can look like when you don't do what we just talked about, keeping that air clean. Okay, we are at a failed engine right now that has burned up, and let me show you what happened here. First of all, remember this intake filter here? This has a filter that goes on the front of the cowling, the recoil, and all this air gets pulled through this screen and exhausted across the engine. And as we get a close-up look at this, we're going to see these cooling fins back here that I'm pointing to. Those cooling fins that increase the surface area and cooling of that engine block and the head allow that temperature to stay within a reasonable range so no damage is done to the engine. When I do not have a filter in here, or I do not keep this clean like I should, the material will accumulate around this engine block. And let's do a walk around here and look at this. This is an engine that was returned for us to consider for warranty from a manufacturer, or from a customer that said he only used it for 50 hours, and he said he regularly maintained this. This is what we see most of the time when we get the engine back or it gets taken to a service center. Look at all this dust and dirt around this engine. Build up over here. As we get into this area over here, you can see all the buildup of all the fiber around those cylinder heads, around the engine right here, and that will not cool properly. So we do have to keep that area clean. Now, I would like to say every 50 hours, but as needed, you need to pull sometimes that engine cowling. We'll walk over here and we'll finish up on this side, but as needed, one has to remove this cage and cowling and get back in here and access that area and blow that off. Because even with all this on there, after so many hours, that material builds up in around that engine. Now, there's things that we can do to help this out. And in one of our next sessions on job site setup, and I'll mention it here also, we never want to connect the filter collection bag over here on the exhaust of the chamber. If we put an exhaust collection bag here and all our fibers filling up right directly off this chamber, if there gets a hole in the bag, what's happening? It's blowing dirt and dust everywhere. It goes in the air and gets sucked up and blown through that engine again. So we want to keep that collection bag for our fiber off of the chamber and somewhere else away, 15, 20, 25 feet, blowing into a bag in your trailer or your vehicle. But don't be putting that filter bag right here on the exhaust part of this chamber. So that's one thing that we can do to help things out. The second thing is always keeping that filter clean. If you do that maybe every month or 50 hours or thereabouts, you can take that cowling off and do the little detailed cleaning of that engine block. I guarantee you, if you can keep that engine clean, do your regular maintenance and change oil, these engines will last a long, long time. If you don't, they will burn up in a short time, and the manufacturer, Briggs & Stratton or Honda, will not warranty the engines if they are not kept clean.